Good morning. My name is Ian Sterling, and I am the president of Doherty Associates Investment Counsel. My colleagues and I are proud to be back once again as the title sponsor of this year's President's Breakfast. We are especially proud to support the nurses, doctors, and the entire staff who work tirelessly to make the Ottawa Hospital a world-class institution. These people are true heroes in our community. Our sponsorship, along with the other breakfast sponsors, ensures that your donation this morning goes directly to patient care and research. We are inspired by the stories we hear each year at this important event, and we are looking forward to hearing from Cameron Love a little later in the program about the hospital's ambitious vision for healthcare. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for your generous support.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Grande, and on behalf of myself and my co-chair, Jeff Clarke, we'd like to welcome you to the 21st President's Breakfast. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we respectively gather in the National Capital Region is the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. We'd also like to thank the Canadian War Museum for hosting us in this beautiful location. This is a first for the breakfast, and we are so honored to be here. And we're thrilled to be back in person for the first time since 2019.
Yes, it's incredible to see so many of you back with us this morning. We've waited so long for this to come. We'd also like to welcome all of those who are watching and with us virtually today. Together, whether you're here in person or watching from home or at the office this morning, we have all gathered for the same reason, to support the Ottawa Hospital.
I couldn't agree more, Jeff. I know many of us love being here because it's a great way to connect with members of our community, but this is a vital fundraiser for the hospital. There are big plans for the future. We know the wheels are in motion for the new campus development on Carling Avenue and for the hospital to climb to the very top tier of research in the world. And it's our support over the past 2 decades that has helped the Ottawa Hospital get to this point. Together, we've helped to provide world-class patient care, advance groundbreaking research, and purchase state-of-the-art technology. All of this ensures the team is ready for when we or a loved one need them most.
That's right, Sarah. In fact, over the past 20 years, this breakfast has raised over $13.5 million. And you know what we would love to see happen here today? We'd be thrilled to surpass the $14 million mark. What a great milestone that would be, and a way to say thank you to the team at the Ottawa Hospital for their unwavering dedication and support, especially over the last 2.5 years.
Over the next 30 minutes, you will be moved by 2 young patients with very different stories, but they each have one thing in common. The Ottawa Hospital saved their lives. You'll hear from Dr. Maher Matar, a trauma surgeon and team lead for the Trauma Center, and Dr. Rebecca Auer, a surgical oncologist and the director of cancer research. And of course, we're thrilled to have the president and CEO of the Ottawa Hospital, Cameron Love, with us to learn more about the plans for the new hospital campus and the Foundation's historic $500 million fundraising campaign to help fulfill the Ottawa Hospital's most ambitious vision ever.
Let's kick things off now. We'd first like to thank Meldrum Horn, the sponsor of our first portion of the program. But now I'd like to introduce Dr. Rebecca Auer, as she joins us here in person today to tell her stories. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff, and good morning, everyone. In a few minutes, you're going to meet a young man named Haydn, whose cancer journey presented us with a unique challenge. But the cancer team we assembled at the Ottawa Hospital, because they were aware of the research discoveries in this space, were able to put together a cutting-edge therapy that was successful about a year before it was widely known. Being in that business for so long, I could almost write the story. You know, the radiation, the chemotherapy, the side effects, the surgery, colostomy, and you sort of see this young man's life completely take a left turn. Being a mom, I know how hard that is to see your child and see their future and question, what is that future going to look like for my son now? Through the whole experience, he's maintained his sense of humor. He's maintained his determination to get through this. And now to work with him, it's incredible to see him give back. After everything he's been through, that's what he wants to do. He wants to raise awareness. He wants to give back to the community. He wants to share his story, and that to me is that's a special person who takes an experience like this and changes it into something so much better. Working with cancer patients and having my own experience with cancer, I can tell you that hope is probably the most important thing. And hope doesn't come from throwing a penny in a wishing well or wishing on a star. It comes from research. And research is what really drives those new frontiers of therapy that can make an incurable cancer curable and make a terminal patient have a life that they never thought was possible. And we need to fund research. We need to support our local researchers because it's here where the new therapies are being discovered and where they're being offered to our patients. Haydn is an incredibly brave young man, and I am pleased to welcome him this morning to share his story with you.
Good morning, everyone. Still getting used to the microphone. Just going to adjust it a little bit. So I'm Haydn, obviously, from the last video, and I'd first like to start off by just saying thank you to Dr. Auer, and I'm so happy she could be here today. I'm also going to be really candid with you. As much as I love Dr. Auer, every time I see her, I tense up a little bit because she did every single one of my colonoscopies, and I can't get that thought out of my head. On a serious note, though, just before I start talking about all the cancer stuff, I wanted to kind of talk about heroes first. And growing up, I always looked up to professional athletes. I thought of myself as a bit of a sports guy. But since my diagnosis, the people I've come to admire have really changed. So obviously, without Dr. Auer, I wouldn't be here. So essentially, you could say she's my new hero, and it's people like Dr. Auer that are the real superheroes in this world. If anyone had told me 5 years ago, Haydn, 5 years from now, you'll be speaking in front of a group of people about your cancer story, I definitely wouldn't have believed them. Around that time, I was actually kind of busy traveling the world. I was pursuing a career and following my dream of playing soccer, actually. When I was 18 years old, I left my hometown, Ottawa, and I moved to Florida. I started playing for a university soccer team there. Only lasted about a year there because I got the opportunity to move to England, and I played semi-professionally while I finished my undergraduate degree. And then once I graduated, COVID-19 hit, and not a lot of opportunities in soccer, but I still had the opportunity to go to Spain and continue playing, and then also study a master's degree virtually. Throughout all that time, though, I kind of had a health problem that kept reoccurring and didn't have a very good explanation. When I was 19, I first noticed blood in my stool. And initially I thought, that's not normal. I was away from home at the time, so I called my parents and we had a pretty awkward chat about my bathroom habits over the phone. But obviously that led to me coming home, and during a visit, my mom made an appointment for myself to meet with my family doctor. Proceeded to be told it was hemorrhoids, and I was given medication to treat them. And if that was the case, I don't think I'd have to be talking to all of you today, but here we are. So the blood in my stool would reoccur first weekly, started to become daily, but it kind of became a part of my life. So I just kept going with it and believed it was hemorrhoids. But then in December 2020, I was living in Spain, and because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the worsening situation in the area, I was forced to come home. And that move actually turned out to save my life. Because in the months leading up to that, I started developing symptoms that weren't just blood in my stool. I started to lose a lot of weight. I was feeling really weak to the point where I couldn't even complete daily tasks. Yeah, we're still here. And so while I was home, my mother insisted that I go to the Winchester Hospital, which is the closest to my home in Greeley, because for someone who is active and seemingly healthy, these things didn't seem like they should be happening. So I had my favorite test in the world, and that's a sigmoidoscopy, followed by a colonoscopy. And these tests showed, one, that something was wrong, and then I got the news that a 22-year-old doesn't really expect to hear, and that was that I was diagnosed with stage 3C rectal cancer. That obviously wasn't easy news for my family and I to digest. I specifically remember thinking, Haydn, don't look up survival rates. That lasted about 5 minutes, but I told myself that. So, yeah, at least I tried. But there's always good news, and the good news was the cancer hadn't spread elsewhere in my body. I was then referred to the Ottawa Hospital, and suddenly I had a whole team behind me. I first met my medical oncologist, Dr. Joanna Gottfried, then a radiation oncologist, Dr. Jenny Jin, then the lovely Dr. Rebecca Auer, my oncological surgeon, and then my nurse navigator, Mary Farnand, who I'm so happy to have here today as well. So I really couldn't have asked for a better team behind me. And a plan was quickly put in place for radiation, and then chemotherapy, and then followed by surgery. But on the day I was actually meant to start my radiation treatment, I got a call from all three of my doctors all at once, and it was really a conference call like none other I'd ever experienced. Because of my young age, my team ran testing on my tumor through the Ottawa Hospital's molecular oncology lab. It's the first of its kind in Ottawa, dedicated to treating and studying the genetics of cancer. The biomarker testing of my tumor showed that I had what's called microsatellite instability high cancer, or MSI high cancer, which meant I was eligible for a certain type of immunotherapy treatment. So the plan for chemotherapy and radiation therapy quickly went out the window, obviously. And I also later learned from my team that I had Lynch syndrome, which is an inherited condition that increased the risk of certain cancers, most notably colorectal cancer. While this was scary for myself and my family, to hear my team really did their homework. They thought outside the box, and they researched the most advanced approach to give me not only the best chance to survive, but the best chance to live a long and healthy life after treatment. And while I was obviously nervous to try a treatment that I didn't know very much about, I was also really excited by the hope that immunotherapy offered me. So my family and I had complete faith in my doctors, knowing they could access this treatment, which had been really successful and very early studies. So on April 1st of last year, I started my immunotherapy treatment, and as you can see, it seems to have worked out pretty well. Yeah, this is the good news part of the story. So within a month, all my symptoms had disappeared. I actually felt healthier at that point than I had before I was diagnosed with cancer, which was crazy. And then a scan at the end of May showed that my tumor had shrunk by almost half. I continued with the immunotherapy until the beginning of July, and that's when my team determined that my tumor was small enough for Dr. Auer to remove. And by the middle of summer, a major operation was planned to take out the tumor, the surrounding lymph nodes, and to undergo a procedure known as J-pouch surgery. This would remove my entire colon to help eliminate any future risk of cancer or to reduce the risk of a reoccurrence of cancer. And it also offered me the chance to live a life without a permanent ostomy bag. It was during this surgery that Dr. Auer actually made a pretty remarkable discovery, and that was that all signs of my cancer had disappeared and the tumor was gone. Once my J-pouch had healed, I was back in the Auer again in November, and this time with Dr. Shahir Tadros and Dr. Auer to reverse my temporary ostomy as well as complete my J-pouch procedure. So I was finally about to get my life back together, basically. Now, happy to say I'm 24 and cancer-free and speaking to all of you amazing people today. And so I'm actually now working with a nonprofit, Colorectal Cancer Canada, and that's to help other Canadians who are going through a similar situation as I was a year ago. I'm also now pursuing a kind of new dream of mine, kind of forgot about soccer pretty quickly, and that's to become a lawyer. So just started law school this past week, and it sucks. I'm just joking. It's a lot of reading. But before this, I really thought I was invincible. I never worried about even the concept of death. I've come to realize I'm not invincible. I also have come to realize how incredibly fortunate I am, and I was, to have the Ottawa Hospital and this amazing team of doctors in my corner fighting for me, and who wouldn't settle for traditional treatments and who really thought outside the box to give me the best life possible. So as I started the speech, I'm going to end it by saying I'm going to be really candid with you guys, and I'm not going to talk about my bowel habits this time or any colonoscopies, but I will share my story with people. But you've been such a great receptive audience that makes it a lot easier to talk about such a difficult thing. So thank you. So it's leadership with a strong vision that gives patients like myself hope. And so it's my pleasure to introduce the President and CEO of the Ottawa Hospital, Cameron Love.
Wow, what a remarkable story. And Haydn, thank you so much for being here this morning, and it's so great to see you and get a chance to meet you and your family. Well, good morning, everyone, and what a pleasure it's to be here in person. It's incredible to think that the first President's Breakfast that we had, or the last one I was at in the fall 2019, and it's so great to be here in person today. You know, as we've navigated over the last 2.5 years, our teams and community have shown their versatility, their dedication, their compassion, and their ability to persevere through this pandemic. And there is no question COVID-19 has thrown us a lot of challenges, but it's also made us more determined than ever to focus on new and innovative ways to develop our programs and to improve patient care. Simply settling for status quo is just not something we do. We are always striving to ensure that our patients get the best possible treatments, and always with compassion and kindness. It's this drive and innovative thinking that has helped people like Haydn and so many others to live a strong and healthy life. Patients like Haydn are those that inspire us continuously to seek new treatments through our world-leading research programs. And it is this research and innovation, as Dr. Auer has said, that gives us hope. It allows us to drive evolution, and most importantly, it allows us to build the future of healthcare for our community. Every day, our researchers are pushing the boundaries of science, and there are more research and clinical breakthroughs that are going to occur over this decade than will probably have occurred over the last 50 years. And it's our researchers that are helping to drive this change. You've heard one this morning with the work of Dr. Auer, but let me give you a couple other examples. Take, for instance, Dr. Jason McVicker, Gonzalo Alvarez, and Smita Parkale, who are partnering with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities to better understand and remove barriers in their health system and to develop more effective approaches for treatment and prevention. Or how about Dr. Natasha Kekri's research that's made headlines around the world for pioneering the first Made in Canada CAR-T program, which is already saving the lives of people with blood cancer. And then there's research that's simply out of this world, where Dr. Guy Trudell's work with the International Space Station has discovered that space travel destroys red blood cells, a finding that is most notably going to change the way healthcare operates in the future. At TOH, we are going to transform healthcare through the largest and most important healthcare infrastructure project in the history of our community. The new campus on Carling Avenue will be a true reflection of state-of-the-art infrastructure, but most of all and most importantly, it will be the catalyst to revolutionize healthcare for the future. The new campus, it will have single-bedded rooms where every patient will have their own room, their own washroom, and space for a loved one to spend the evening. There'll be smart in-room digital screens that will keep them fully connected to their care teams on a 24/7 basis. It's also going to be home to one of Canada's leading neuroscience centers, a dedicated hub for one of North America's leading research facilities, specializing in Parkinson's, MS, multiple sclerosis, and neuromuscular diseases. It will also focus on improving mental health care through the design of spaces devoted to promoting healing and wellness. It will also have a state-of-the-art trauma center that will have a rooftop helipad, dedicated access routes for ambulances, and operating rooms that will house the most advanced technology to ensure we are able to urgently help those who have been badly injured. And finally, we are going to build a discovery and innovation platform and center that will deploy one of the most advanced data analytics platforms in Canada that is going to definitely improve patient care, definitely allow us to evolve our research and innovation platforms, not only for Ottawa and Canada, but across the globe. These are just but a few examples of how this new campus is going to change the face of healthcare for our community. You know, as we reflect on the past, it was literally a century ago, as a response to the flu pandemic of 1918, where this community built the first hospital, or the first civic hospital. Ironically, fast track a century later, and as we emerge from this pandemic, one for which our healthcare providers and researchers have got us through, we are now seizing again a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to build a new healthcare campus for the next century. This is definitely one of the most exciting times in healthcare that is definitely going to make history for all of us. Our new health system will be on par with other global leaders, whether it's the Mayo Clinic or Johns Hopkins or others across the globe. Our community is definitely going to have world-class research. It's definitely going to be able to attract world-class talent from across the globe, and it will definitely allow us to create world-renowned programs right here in our community. We're building a brighter future for our children, our grandchildren, and most importantly, for generations to come. These are all the things that our team at the Ottawa Hospital is striving to provide for this community. And I can't thank you enough for your unwavering support, because without it, we could not be here. And I look forward to building the future of healthcare in this great city together. Thanks very much and enjoy your breakfast.
Big steps. Very good, Sophie.
Every day, patients arrive at our doors facing an uncertain future. And every day, our work gives them hope for a healthier tomorrow. Join us as we transform the future of healthcare. Join us as we create a better tomorrow.
Thistledown Foundation is pleased to support the next segment of the President's Breakfast. Traditionally, their focus is centered on decarbonization efforts and the benefits on our climate. We are pleased to welcome them amongst our supporters today, particularly in light of their recent support of children's hospitals in Canada. Thank you, Thistledown.
All right, good morning. I'm told to lean in and bring the mic up, so I'll do that. My name is Maher Matar. I'm a trauma surgeon at the Level 1 Trauma Center based out of the Civic Campus here at the Ottawa Hospital. So I'm going to walk you guys through a night. Picture this. It's mid-January, 3 o'clock in the morning, minus 35. I'm sure all of you are sleeping. I'm in deep sleep as well, in a very nice warm bed under covers of a feather duvet my wife purchased, which the pager goes off. For a few seconds, the sound blends into my dream. But then I realized the sound is not going away and that this is actually my pager going off. I get up startled, always happens. I look at the pager and it says code 1111 trauma. From there, I have 20 minutes to get myself ready, hair fixed, of course, and into the cold car to drive towards the trauma center. Upon arrival in the trauma bay, I join a team of highly trained nurses, respiratory therapists, patient support workers, radiology technologists, emergency medicine physicians, and resident physicians to manage any trauma coming through the door. Underline any trauma coming through the door. I must be ready to deliver the highest level of care to the likely sickest person in Ottawa at that point of time. This is not a job. This is a privilege. This is a responsibility. And this is my job as a trauma surgeon. A similar scenario happened 2 years ago when 3 brothers driving skidoos on a lake lost control and crashed their vehicles into a tree. All 3 of them were injured. They were initially taken to the Gatineau Hospital, but given the severity of one of the brothers' injuries, he had to be transferred to the Ottawa Hospital, where he underwent life-saving surgery by our skilled vascular and cardiac surgeons. That night, they saved his life. At the same time, we accepted and transferred both his brothers who were also injured, one of which I had to take to the operating room myself to manage his injuries, and the other one we brought over just to ensure the entire family remained together. Because sometimes it's not just medical decisions we have to make, we also need to make compassionate decisions as well. As you can imagine, our team is eager for the new campus development, from dedicated access routes for ambulances to a rooftop helipad with high-speed elevators leading directly to our trauma center. Patients will get to us faster. Saving critical time means saving even more lives. I hope you and your loved ones never get hurt, but rest assured that if they do, there is a dedicated team of experts ready to deliver the highest level of care to them, as I would expect to be delivered to any of my loved ones. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce to you a young woman who was rushed to our trauma center on July 1st, 2018. Please welcome Casey Delaney.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Dr. Matar and the whole team at the Ottawa Hospital. I can honestly say before that day 4 years ago, I didn't realize how important the trauma center was to us here in our city. Now, I did have some history with the hospital prior to that. You see, I came into the world 2 months premature when my mother gave birth to me on the Civic campus years ago, and I spent some time in the NICU before I was ready to go home. But it was on Canada Day 2018 that I experienced a whole different level of care at the Ottawa Hospital. It was a beautiful day on the river, and as an elementary school teacher, I really relished those relaxing summer days. I was on the Gatineau side, lounging on an inflatable raft with friends, including my husband, Scott, although he was just my boyfriend at the time. And then suddenly a personal watercraft was zipping around us, trying to get our attention, and the driver suddenly lost control and hit our group, and I took the brunt of the impact. I lost consciousness, but thankfully Scott had CPR training, and a couple of my girlfriends that were there that day were nurses, and if it wasn't for their quick thinking, I'm really unsure where I'd be today. I was rushed to a hospital in Gatineau, but because of the extent of my injuries and the complexity of my case, I was transferred to the trauma center at the Civic campus. Once I arrived, my loved ones learned that I'd suffered a traumatic brain injury, and it did not look good. I needed surgery right away, and that's when Dr. John Sinclair entered our lives, and today's really exciting because it's my first time properly meeting him. To reduce the swelling in my brain, Dr. Sinclair and his team conducted a double craniectomy, skillfully removing 2 large portions of my skull, one on each side of my head. This relieved the pressure and allowed my brain to swell. Then I was put into a medically induced coma. Scott and my family waited day and night for news. Would I make it? Would I ever walk again? Would I use my arms? Or would I even be able to remember my loved ones if I woke up? There were no promises as to what my outcome would be, but I was young, fit, in good health, and I had a team behind me that handles the most complex cases in our city, and this gave me a real advantage. I remained in the ICU in a coma for 2 weeks, and when I awoke, there were signs of hope. I did have issues walking at first, and there was a weakness in my entire right side, but the fact that I was taking steps at all was an amazing progress. I had trouble with memory and balance that required special care, but just like my walking, I did start to improve. The trauma team had really saved my life, but my journey wasn't over. Next, I was transferred to the Ottawa Hospital's specialized brain injury rehabilitation program, one of only a handful like it in the province. I was determined to get back to my classroom by September. While it did take a little bit longer than that, a collaborative and specialized team led by Dr. Sean Marshall, including nurses, physiotherapists, occupational therapists, psychologists, social workers, speech-language pathologists, and more, helped me to learn to live independently again. I attended fine motor skill classes, which seemed really silly to me at the time because that's what I teach my kindergarten students. But looking back, it was something that I actually really needed. Then, after those touch and go moments in the trauma center, the ICU, and 2 months of rehab, I finally got to go home. Even after discharge, my therapy continued at the hospital, and in September 2019, so a year after discharge, I returned to the classroom, and what a moment for me that was. It took a massive team, a truly compassionate and dedicated team, to give me my life back. It was the Ottawa Hospital that gave me the chance to finally say yes when Scott asked me to marry him. And next, we'll welcome our child into the world this November. And yet, and yes, of course, the delivery will take place at the Civic Campus where I was born 31 years ago. It's your support that makes stories like mine a reality and gives people like me a beautiful future. Thank you so much.
Wow. What a journey you have been on, Casey, and congratulations to you on the arrival of your new baby on the way. So from Casey being rushed to the Ottawa Hospital's Trauma Center to Haydn's cancer journey at such a young age, we've heard two examples of how the hospital and its healthcare team is ready when we need it most. In fact, Jeff and I both have our own personal stories. I too was born at the Ottawa Hospital, and so were my two children, but I gained a much deeper understanding of the world-class care that's waiting for us when my mom was diagnosed with leukemia in 2019. We did lose her in early 2020, but I am forever grateful for the compassionate care she received throughout her treatment and for the doctors who did everything in their power to help her. I remember thinking how lucky we are to have the healthcare center, not only because of the excellent care they provide, but because they are at the forefront of cancer research, which leads to new techniques and discoveries. As Dr. Auer has said, that is where the hope lies. And that's why I'm a proud supporter of the Ottawa Hospital.
My story is very similar to Sarah's, but I've watched both my parents face cancer at the Ottawa Hospital. And they've both been cared for by the incredible team at the Cancer Center, kind and compassionate people. We lost my dad to lung cancer at the young age of 58 years old, and my mom is a cancer survivor. She's been back to the hospital for multiple surgeries, and each time she's received outstanding care. Sarah and I have witnessed firsthand how vitally important it is to continue building for the future. So when any one of us, our families, need care, we still have access to the very best right here at home. That's why we're here today. We are asking for your support for when you need it, for when your children need it, or for when your parents may need it.
Is it you?
Nope.
Gotta love it. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
I'll give you.
Thank God.
Sorry. So today we invite you to become a member of the President's Council of the Ottawa Hospital by making a donation of $1,000 or more per year. A 5-year commitment would have an even greater impact and would allow the hospital to plan further ahead. As we've heard this morning, the future is exciting. Perhaps you might also consider becoming a monthly donor. And if you're watching virtually, you can click the donate button now. For those of you in the audience, there are forms at your table that you can fill out now. So as you consider your donation, think back to Haydn and Casey, as well as Doctors Auer and Matar. Just imagine them and the impact you will have on patients tomorrow.
And before we go, we just want to say thank you to some of the people that made this morning possible. Thanks to our volunteers and table captains. And thank you for the ambassadors who brought us all together here today at the War Museum and virtually as well.
Jeff, wait, I'm just going to interrupt because I just want to say a really quick thank you to you. On behalf of the Ottawa Hospital Foundation and all of us here today, I want to say thanks to you for 10 years of being part of this breakfast. Absolutely incredible. You've dedicated yourself to supporting the hospital and this breakfast and given all your time on the board, so thank you for 10 years.
Anytime.
Now it is you. Now it's you.
We'd also like to thank our title sponsor, Doherty and Associates Investment Counsel. We'd also like to take an opportunity to thank all our corporate sponsors that made this possible. Thistledown Foundation, Eamon Hardin, Meldrum Horn, WCPD Foundation, Abbott, Ego Drain Systems Limited, Coughlin and Associates, Engel Invokers, Gallings WLG, Good Key Weedmark, Hydro Ottawa, and Train Technologies. It's corporate support from these generous organizations that ensure your donations go directly to the research and other areas of the Ottawa Hospital. We thank you for joining us today, and we thank you for your support to help create a better tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.